What's going on, snipers? Naeem Al-Obeidi here. I hope you're all enjoying your day today. Let's dive into our daily cryptocurrency content and analytics for today. We're going to be talking about the U.S. probing an investigation for Bitcoin price manipulators and the market makers that are moving this market. And we're also going to be looking at a Bitcoin technical analysis like always, along with other coins. If you guys are part of our Patreon subscription service, we actually sent a push notification alert yesterday about EOS as a potential trade setup. And you can see how we've seen 12% gains since we sent out that push notification. If you guys are on the go and want push notification trend signals and trade alerts, just go to our Patreon website and you can sign up. It's patreon.com/snipers. But it's extremely exciting to see that this market's turning bullish now. Looking at this chart with Bitcoin, you can see there's an overall pennant forming now with this descending resistance level. There was a really interesting article that I found today saying here, Banishing the Bitcoin bear market, and new analysis pinpoints return to Bitcoin bull market. And it's a very interesting article. You can see it says a group of cryptocurrency analysts have identified new market trends signaling what they believe is the imminent end of the Bitcoin bear market. And it's a really interesting article basically saying that we've seen Bitcoin run down 3 times already, each time being less than the other. And that's institutional money coming into the market, running down the price, getting more positions, taking the price back up, running it back down, and now we're approaching our third bottom, which would make this a triple bottom. And that would make a lot of sense because if you see here with the RSI, we are just about oversold at this point, indicating we're most likely going to see higher levels very soon. And we've got this overall ascending support line. We've got this clear pennant forming with a clear support level. And it's really interesting. This Wix here, you can see this Wix actually confirmed this pennant. If this Wix never occurred, it wouldn't have been a pennant. So it's so cool how patterns really work. And it's something that I've known because I've been in traditional markets, and traditional markets take a lot longer to form patterns. But in this market, things are so much faster. So exciting to see this bullish setup right now for Bitcoin. I'm really excited about that. What's also exciting about this formation, in my opinion, is you can see with the MACD, we are seeing sellers come in, but it's just a lack of sellers. We came up all the way to around 168 here on the MACD, and then we ended up dropping all the way back down to -96, and now we're seeing a lack of sellers. Typically, when there's a lot of sellers, you'll see large spikes in the histogram, but right now you can see we're seeing a lot less. And if you go on the 4-hour, we've also got this overall pennant forming here with the MACD, as you've got this ascending support line alongside with this descending resistance level, and we are approaching the apex of that pennant, which is the end, indicating a possible breakout. So it's going to be exciting to see what occurs here with Bitcoin over the next couple of days. But what I will say is I believe it is the time to start dollar cost averaging your position into Bitcoin. Just like this article talks about, we've seen the price run itself down 3 times already, each time being less significant than the other, indicating that the institutional investors are trying to put positions into this market. And it makes a lot of sense. We've seen a lot of regulations come to this market. And talking about the U.S. Justice Department, you can see here, the U.S. Justice Department investigates price manipulation in Bitcoin market. And if you go into this article, we're not going to go into everything, but you can see here it says the U.S. Department of Justice has launched a criminal investigation to determine if big money traders are manipulating the prices of Bitcoin, Ether, and possibly Ether cryptocurrencies or other cryptocurrencies. And it's interesting because it says here they're trying to see if big money traders are manipulating the market. The real answer to this question is, of course, big money traders are manipulating this market. That isn't a doubt. When people see opportunity to make money, they're going to take advantage of it, especially in a market that's as unregulated as this Bitcoin market. So the question of the U.S. Department, in my opinion, is, of course, there's people manipulating this market, but what could we do about it? Here's the solution. Let's create real, true regulations for this market so that we can see real institutional money come in where these price manipulators, these market makers can have less of an effect on this market, just like you see with traditional markets where there's so much liquidity that it's hard for somebody with even $1 billion to really move the market if there's a $52 trillion market cap. But not really. At the end of the day, $1 billion can move a lot of markets. But you see what I'm saying here. So liquidity will solve this problem. And in my opinion, they're wasting their time investigating this because at the end of the day, yes, they're going to probably find people manipulating this market, but where are the regulations to go against them, right? What if they're outside the US? What if they're outside the country? Even if they're in the US, what are the regulations against this, right? Like, Of course, I'm sure you can work around securities and, laws like that. But at the end of the day, of course, there's price manipulators. And as investors, here's a 3-step process that I like to talk about. Number 1, buy low. If we're an investor, let's buy low to go against these market makers. Number 2, take profits when you see profits, right? Here's a suggestion for all of you traders. In my opinion, this is what helped me in this market the most. It's called play house money. How do you play house money? Well, here's the step to do that. Let's say you put in a $100 investment and that turns into $200. Take out $100, your initial investment, and leave the other 100 in that coin. Now, guess what? All of your coins have become free, right? So that's the trick, in my opinion. And then number 3, it's know what are long-term holds versus swing trades versus day trades, because there's 3 types of traders. There's day traders, swing traders, and long-term holders. And what I would tell you right now is always set up entry and exit points before making your trade, because some people, they trade and they don't even set up an exit point, right? If it's a long-term hold, it's a different story. You can dollar cost average your positions with long-term holds. That's probably the best idea. But anyways, yes, there's market manipulators. We just have to be proactive enough to go against them in the right manner, which is by playing against their tricks, which is pretty much bringing the prices down, bringing them back up, bringing them back down, bringing them back up. No big deal. Put in our initial investment, pull out our initial investment, leave the profits. We've got free coins. We're playing house money. And that's the secret, in my opinion, or a 3-step process that could help a lot of you beginners. So looking at some more technical analysis, let's take some requests from our live audience here. Let's see here. Mark says, Naeem, we don't have institutional in this market yet due to the lack of regulations. The manipulation is coming from whales. Of course, Mark Ledbetter, that's exactly what we just talked about. Mr. T says, what's up, bro? Big Daddy says, do you think Bitcoin will drop any more? I believe that even if we do see any further declines, it's only going to go up to where we've previously seen declines and nothing more, just because of the fact that if you look at this RSI on the daily, we're completely oversold. If you look at the MACD on the 4-hour, forming a beautiful pennant, and then overall price levels are forming this pennant. Just like this article says here, we're banishing the bears in this market. The institutions are trying to get their money into this market, and we've already seen 1, 2, 3 drops in the market forming a triple bottom, or at least about to form a triple bottom. And that is the best confirmation to understand the fact that this bear market is very close to being over, because understand, bear markets do last a long time in traditional markets, but this market's so much faster. So not only are indicators faster, not only are patterns faster, but market cycles are faster in this market. If you guys don't know, market cycles go like this: up and down, up and down. Every market follows this cycle, right? Typically, if you have a healthy market, you'll always see an ascending support line. So no matter what, if you've got long-term investments, you're always at a profit. That's why Warren Buffett, one of the best investors in the world, says, I've only bought and held, and that's what's created my wealth. He's one of the largest holders of Coca-Cola, and he actually bought Coca-Cola when Coca-Cola went down. If you guys don't know the story, Coca-Cola crashed at one point in history, and then Warren Buffett came in and bought a ton of stocks and shares, and people were like, Warren, what are you doing? Why are you buying so much Coca-Cola? And he's like this, well, have the fundamentals changed? If you walk into a restaurant, do they still serve Coke or not? Yeah, they still serve Coke. Well, nothing's changed about Coca-Cola. I'm just buying this at a cheap price. And guess what? He ended up being the largest shareholder and now a multi-billionaire. And it's the same concept in this market. Has Bitcoin changed? Has Bitcoin? As a matter of fact, Bitcoin is better than it was in December. Look at this article here. It says here in this article, Zimbabwe lifts its ban on Bitcoin. So we're actually better than we've ever been, in my opinion. And you can see here with the proof of the pudding that we're better than we've ever been. And let's pop our LaCroix and take some user requests here. What coins do you guys want to look at now that we've cleared up this Bitcoin institutional whale issue and controversy? And let's see what the live audience has to say. So somebody says, too much tequila. Must have slammed 2 Red Bulls on a roll. Thank you. Nicholas says, even if the markets are being manipulated, anyone and everyone can make profits shorting and longing the volatility. Exactly. So not everyone can short this market because some regulations don't allow you to in the US and stuff like that. But for the majority of investors, yes, you can short. Tom S says, can't stop BTC, baby. By the way, I was at the gym. That's why I have energy. And if you're following me on Instagram, you know I'm at the gym because I posted my story. So at Naeem Al-Obeidi on Instagram. I'm starting to become more active on Instagram, growing that. So it's exciting, but definitely recommend you all check us out on Instagram. Ty Lay says Zil would be good to look at with all they've got going on. Absolutely. Let's do ZIL and BTC. Somebody said EOS. We just talked about EOS. We called a trade signal on EOS yesterday. If you guys don't know, we send push notification trend signals straight to you all. We sent this push notification yesterday. If you guys are Patreons, that's patreon.com/snipers. You'll come to a page like this and we have our push notification trade alert service. By the way, we're doing a Ruby and Above Night Owl as well, May 27th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time and 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're going to be doing a Q&A. I'm going to have my analysts there, some of them, as well as some members of our social media team. We're going to have a meet and greet, and we're going to do some giveaways. So I'd love to see some of you all there. If you guys are Patreons, you know you got this post. If not, you can check out patreon.com/snipers. But we posted this alert yesterday. We sent push notification to everyone's mobile phone, and then look what happened. As soon as we posted this, bam, went straight into that higher price level, saw resistance at previous resistance levels. EOS, in my opinion, is the coin to grab onto at this point. Zilica, another great project. But let's pull up EOS really quick before we do Zilica, because we're talking about EOS. So EOS, we're seeing the 50-day moving average and that EMA starting to converge together. That's a very bullish response there. And if you look here, this EMA is currently acting as the potential resistance level, but with this recent surge of volume, you can see we've broken past and above that EMA, and now we are above that EMA, which is very bullish. In my opinion, it is the time to start dollar cost averaging your positions into EOS, knowing that this right here is most likely going to be a bull flag formation, because you can also see that we're above and below that moving average right now. And knowing that we're now above the moving average, we're above the EMA, everything's looking bullish for EOS. And I think that it's the time to start dollar cost averaging a position into a coin like this. And then if you look at the RSI, you can see we bounced right at 40. So we're not going into these oversold levels. And the reason for that, in my opinion, is because EOS is such an intrinsically valuable project and it's such an intrinsically valuable coin that buyers are really looking to get the best possible prices on this. And it's not going to allow it to become oversold. It's going to bounce at 40 and start heading back up. So it's all within this neutral zone right now. And I think anything between this and 60 is going to be the perfect opportunity to get your positions into EOS before we now see more oversold levels, as the influx of liquidity will come into this market very soon. So that's what I would say for EOS. Let's pull up Zilica. This coin we pretty much called out on our live stream when it was at 4 cents. We even put up a long-term alert for all of our Patreons. If you guys are Patreons, we sent out a coin report about Zilica being a long-term project, and it's a project that I'm extremely bullish on. And you can see we're still below that EMA. What I would say with Zilica is a little bit different than what I would say about EOS. Zilica saw a little bit of exuberance, during this rally, right? We had a little bit of exuberance. We went slightly above that EMA, never closed on that candle on the daily. But what I'll tell you right now is, since we're still below that EMA, I would still be a little bit of, I would be a little hesitant about Zilica, because we did see this parabolic run up. And in my opinion, unlike EOS, we're not above the moving average. We're still far and away from that the EMA, and we're still far and away from that EMA or the 50-day moving average. So I think that we need to give this a little bit more time. I think there's more gains to be made here with EOS, especially because you can see there's a lack of volume with Zilica. We've got no volume, but if you look at EOS, you can see we're seeing a lot of volume. So I'd highly encourage you to look into EOS as a potential project. But any other requests? Let's see. Somebody says, I believe the ZRX news was bullish, not one of those buy the hype and sell the news. Your thoughts? Yeah, 0x is a great project. It's something that I've talked about in the past. And I would say that the news that we're seeing, not just for ZRX, but for these other coins, like, for example, Ripple was just featured on the Ellen whatever her name is, the Ellen DeGeneres show recently. And this is what I've been talking about for some time about mass adoption. We're going to start seeing mass adoption occur in this market, and it's going to happen the same way you see mass adoption with anything in the world, right? What's popular in style? It's what the celebrities are wearing. What's popular in clothing? It's what the celebrities are wearing, right? What type of technology is popular? It's the type of technology that celebrities use. Well, guess what? Yesterday, we had Ashton Kutcher on the Ellen DeGeneres show actually do a trial run of Ripple and XRP, sending $4 million while on the live show, which is so interesting to me, because back in even a year ago, right, or 2 years ago, in order for someone to make a $4 million donation live on TV, they will typically bring a cash or a check, right? And that was the typical process. You'd bring a check and you'd say, here's your check, right? Anybody ever received a check in your life? Well, guess what? When you receive that check, now there's a process to cash that check, right? Especially if it's $4 million. If you've ever walked into a bank and asked for even like $10,000 in cash, they're going to tell you no. I remember I walked into a bank once. I was like, I need 10,000 in cash. I was buying something. I forgot. And they were like, okay, we'll order your money. I'm like, excuse me? It says Bank of America. You're going to order my money? Are you kidding me? This is the Bank of America. I'm kind of scared. Is the nation okay? You know, so it's $10,000. I mean, this is a bank, right? But at the end of the day, it was so cool to watch this. And I actually sped it up. I'm not going to go through all of it, but you can see here, this is the moment in which the XRP was transferred in such a short amount of time. Look how cool it is. And look how awesome this is. This is the future right here, in my opinion. Check this baby out.
On behalf of Ripple, we'd like to give you $4 million. Now, usually people come out with the big giant check and do the like big giant check thing, but we can actually transfer it into Rwandan francs right now, right here, and all we have to do is push this button and it's in your account. Do you want to push it? You want me to push it?
I would like to push it. I'd like to push it real good.
Real good. So it was cool to see that, and it's the same way we're going to see mass adoption, the same way you see it with any other industry, right? It's going to become more public. There's going to be more publicity. You know, generations will start to rot, right? Not being offensive to anyone, but generations rot, right? We all die at some point. And when the new market comes into fruition, this new generation that's so used to sending instant payments through PayPal or Venmo, they're going to see cryptocurrency. They're going to see XRP. They're going to see Bitcoin as the best viable option to send payments. And that's when we'll see real mass adoption. And that's when we're going to move from the early adopter phase to the early majority into the late majority. And that's why we're all in this market extremely early. We're here before anyone. In my opinion, it's the most bullish time ever. And with that being said, we're going to end this live stream short. Thank you all for tuning in. Somebody says 300 likes and you continue the live stream. Fine. We'll continue the live stream if we hit 300 likes. Let's see where we're at right now. Why don't we take a request in the meantime? Let's do a request. Any coins that you guys want to look at. ETH, somebody said. Somebody says XRP. George says, you're not telling us anything we don't know. Well, then why are you watching the show, man? Andrea says, Bitcoin private. Kawan says, Wanchain. Let's see here. Abraham says, XLM. David says, XRP. Let's see. Godservant219 says, Tron. Let's see here. What do we got? Bread says, why would you want 4 million in XRP when it could go down percent the next week and you lose 400,000? I take a check if it was for business. Well, what if it went up 4% and then you made an extra 400,000? Bread. It's called positive mental attitude, baby. Diane B says, Encash. Neo, Carmen, Lenart, XVG, Synonymous, Wanchain. Johnny V says, Tron. We got a lot of Tron. Let's do Tron. We'll definitely do Tron. We got another Tron. Laxthor09 said Tron. Androyo Soto says Croy. LaCroix. Let's do a market analytic technical analysis on LaCroix since I started advertising them on the live stream until now, right? I'm just kidding. Let's do TRX BTC and see what's going on here with Tron. What are we at in terms of likes? We're at 142. All right. I guess we won't. We almost hit half. So the cool thing about Tron, we're bouncing on top of this EMA. Things are looking very bullish. We're forming a fractal formation. We're in expectation of the mainnet. Everything to me is looking bullish for Tron right now. Understand that we're most likely going to see a pullback after we see any sort of exuberance, but for the most part, we've got positive divergence forming here with the RSI. We're not at overbought levels yet. The MACD just had a crossover on the 1 day, which is a very strong indicator. You see this buyer histogram starting to form. This right here could turn into this right here, right? So this is going to turn into a histogram eventually. And when that happens, if there's this much buyers, this MACD is going to go parabolic back up to these higher levels. That's going to take the prices to higher levels as well. We're seeing positive divergence here, a fractal formation. Here's what I'll tell you right now. We're most likely going to see resistance right up here where we've previously seen resistance. And that's going to be, if I can move this here, right around, it looks to be 1,075 Satoshis. That's the overall top resistance level here. If we pull up the Fibonacci retracement as well, you can see we'll look at potential support and resistance levels for the future. What we've got here is a potential support and resistance. You see we found resistance on the 0.50. We're now trying to break through that 0.78 into these higher price levels to see all-time highs. Understand this, in technical analysis, you can never determine the magnitude. You can always determine the price movement, and everything is showing we're going to see higher price movements here for Tron. Knowing we're forming this fractal formation, we're most likely to form a cup. We might form a handle from that. Is actually the most likely scenario. And what I would say at this point is if you're dollar cost averaging a position in, it is a neutral time to do that, because guess what's going to happen? We're going to see price levels increase like this, and then they're going to form this cup, most likely see resistance where they previously saw resistance between 1,000 and 1,050 Satoshis, and that would probably be a strong resistance, and we'll most likely find support at previous support around, let's say, 864 Satoshis until we bounce back up, and probably going to be at that 0.618 before we see any sort of further high. So what I would say at this point is it wouldn't be a bad time to get into Tron, knowing the MACD on the daily is extremely bullish. You pull up the 4-hour MACD, you can see very bullish as well. Just had a MACD crossover. Looking at the RSI, even on the 4-hour, we've got positive divergence here coming into these overbought levels. We broke past 60, which is bullish, because anything above 60 would consider itself a bullish response and reaction, in which it will go from 60 above 70. And knowing that we broke through 60, we're still finding at least a little bit of strength at these higher RSI levels. The one confirmation I'll give you if you want to wait is go on the daily here, look at this RSI, and you see how we've already breached 60. That's what's bullish in my opinion. So I'm looking at Tron right now. Things are looking extremely bullish. And it's cool because we're talking about EOS looking very bullish and Tron looking very bullish. And they both are launching their main nets extremely soon, like less than a week. So knowing that, in my opinion, both of these projects you can't really go wrong with. I don't see prices crashing after mainnet launch. I can only see prices going up after mainnet launch, because the mainnet launch, at the end of the day, yes, you want to buy the hype and sell the news. And maybe you will see a crash following the news, and maybe that'll be the handle formation. But at the end of the day, I think at price levels with where they're at right now, knowing the market just kind of came out of a small little corrective phase, it's the perfect opportunity to start getting positions locked into these coins, especially if they have intrinsic value like Tron and EOS. Hopefully that helped out. George Trichel said, I'd love to hear him talk about some new coins. Is that the same person that says that everything I'm talking about is stuff he already knows? I hope not, because if you're that person, you're a very picky person. You're not somebody I would want to get a relationship. I'm just kidding, George. You know what? I will talk about some new coins though. Sys coin, in my opinion, is a coin that's extremely undervalued right now. Let's pull up SYS BTC, and I am expecting some high price levels very soon for Sys coin. It's a coin that I've been recently bullish on. You can see we have a little bit of a bullish response today. Still seeing resistance along that 50-day and that EMA, but for the most part, I would say allow this to go above the 50-day moving average before initiating a position if you're really trying to get a confirmation. But in my opinion, knowing we're seeing these swing highs and swing lows, we're only on the verge of another swing high very soon here with Sys coin. You can see another bullish MACD crossover. We're actually now trying to get back above that slow length. So in my opinion, knowing that the MACD looks completely oversold here, you've got all the sellers drained out. You've got this RSI here still in the neutral zone, bouncing off of the 40 level. In my opinion, Sys coin is another coin that I would be extremely bullish on coming into June of 2018. Diane B says, on the new coins, please let us know where we can find them. If you actually want, Diane, this is the way you can look at any coin and see where to find them. Just click the coin on CoinMarketCap and then go to the bottom and click Markets. And then you can see where all of the exchanges are that list that coin that you can buy it on. So you can see that you can buy this on BitThumb, Binance, Bitfinex, and things like that, Diane. So you never have to have me do that. You can just do that yourself on CoinMarketCap. And, you know, it's all about teaching the man or woman how to fish, not fishing for them. And that's what I'm doing for you right now. So hopefully that's helping you out. Harmon says, please, I've been asking for 3 days. What are your thoughts on Nuls? I haven't looked into Nuls yet. And I don't think we've done a TA on that, so we can definitely look at it. Everything for Nuls in terms of TA is looking pretty bearish. We're below the EMA. We're way and above that 50-day moving average. And the MACD fast length is well on its way down. You've got sellers still coming in here. You've got RSI starting to go back down towards these bearish levels. Nothing's looking good for this coin. Let's see here. Jose Saldana says, what think a better long-term hold would be, BCH or BTC? Well, it really depends on what you believe in, right? Bitcoin Cash recently started a development fund in order to initiate more development on their blockchain. And that's something that could definitely increase its value. It's something we've talked about recently. But at the end of the day, I'm all for Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin, in my opinion, is the one coin that will see huge amounts of growth over time because it's a storage of value. I believe it's the gold of crypto and the digital currency revolution that we're experiencing. And the reason I say that is you have to understand that all of these asset classes that are being created, especially these newer coins that have ICOs, they're all going to be considered securities when you look at the Howey test, right? Because a security in the Howey test, one of the questions of the Howey test is, do you expect this asset class to go up in value over time? And if the answer is yes, and you're promising your investors a return that's higher than what they've put in, then it's considered a security. Bitcoin, on the other hand, is not considered a security because this was pre-ICO, right? Bitcoin was created as a means of exchange, a means of transfer, which eventually, obviously, like I remember back in the early Bitcoin days, there were companies that would allow you to make microtransactions with Bitcoin, like 0.1 cent or like 1 cent, 2 cent transactions. But that company went out of business when the transaction fees went skyrocket and you couldn't feasibly send a transaction for such a small amount on the blockchain, which right now we're trying to fix with the Lightning Network and things of that nature. But I don't really care whether or not the transaction fees are high for Bitcoin or not. At the end of the day, it's limited in quantity. That's what matters, right? Like, do you care about how much it costs to get your gold, or do you just care that you're holding gold, right? Because you have all these people that love gold and silver. Well, guess what? It costs money to buy gold and silver, right? It doesn't just, there's transaction fees, right? So it's the same thing with Bitcoin. There's transaction fees, no big deal. It might take a couple minutes to send, a couple hours, a couple days, no big deal. At least it does send, right? But at the end of the day, it's a storage of value. Do you agree with me or not, audience? Yay or nay on the chat? Let's hear it. George says, it hit 70 cents and it's a steal at 40 cents. Somebody says, Mr. Nice Guy says, nope. Well, you're not that nice. Brazil Crypto says, yay. George says, yeah. Look, George, you've got agreement with me now. I love it. Peter says, yay. Bubblehead says, yay. Mob says, yay. GoBroVid says, yay. Benjamin Johnson says, no. Get out of here, man. I'm just kidding. Tyler says, yay. Kevin says, Bitcoin is manipulated to the upside. That is what the investigation is about. Well, at the end of the day, the investigation is going to find that, yes, obviously market makers that have a lot of money are manipulating this market and shorting. Bart says, yay. Let's see. Rockaroo says, yes, sir. The Mr. E guy says, yeah. I love it. Awesome. We've got agreement. Kilo says, if I send money on PayPal, it's instant. Well, no, not necessarily. So I have a friend in the Philippines that I have sent money to, and PayPal on April 19th actually implemented a new transaction fee for all international transfers, no matter what amount it is, for $4.99 or $5.99 per transaction. I literally stopped using PayPal to send this individual money, and we're now using Ethereum because of that one reason. So, and you know what? PayPal wasn't instant. It actually sent as an e-check every time I sent it for some reason. And I called PayPal and they're like, well, our system will, send some as e-checks, some as instant transfers, but it's not up to us. And I'm like, so I have to wait 5 days for this person to receive their payment? Yeah. And I'm like, okay, cool. We're not using you anymore. And I don't use PayPal anymore. I use Ethereum. So screw PayPal, go Ethereum. And with that being said, thank you all for tuning in. I love you all. If you guys are not on Patreon, go to patreon.com/snipers. We're sending out instant alerts. We've got an awesome, thriving community on Discord. I'll love to see some of you at a Ruby and Above Night Owl. Thank you for tuning in. Like always, until our next live stream, hopefully this helped some of you. Snipers out. Michael said, F PayPal.